The information provided on lifeinterruptedradio.com is for educational purposes only.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour, Surviving to Thriving with Sharon Sayler. And it's my honor to be here again tonight. And as you know, we drop a brand new episode every Friday night, 7 p.m. And I'm thinking here, we're like 185 plus episodes already. So that's just so awesome. A huge wealth of knowledge. And yes, if you're on the video, you can see I've got my cup of tea here, and I've got my chai tea again with homemade almond milk. Just awesome. If you guys want the recipe, just drop me a note at understandingautoimmune.com. Happy to share with you how easy it is to make almond milk or any alternative milks. And we have had just an amazing series of guests lately, and if you listen to Neil Thrussell or his lovely wife Tina Thrussell a couple of weeks ago, awesome guests, and I'm so excited because tonight it's a brand new kind of way that we're going to go. Our dear friend, we have a mutual friend who introduced us, and I always love that. If you've got a great guest idea out there, drop me a note, because I would not have known Karen Noe if it wasn't for our dear friend Jackie. And Karen is a renowned New York psychic medium with a 2-year waiting list. That's just amazing. She is a Hay House author. Her latest book is We Consciousness, 33 Profound Truths for Inner and Outer Peace. Her other books are Your Life After Their Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss, and Through the Eyes of Another, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. And oh my goodness, so exciting. Welcome, Karen. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, Jackie was telling me all about your latest book, and I was so inspired because I'll have you tell more about it, but I was, and still am, such a fan of Wayne Dyer's. When I found out that you had this connection, and this is where the book We Consciousness came from, I was so excited to learn more. So let's just first sort of the shorthand version of what is the connection with Wayne and why We Consciousness?
Okay, well, it is a long story, but I'll make it short. I always was a Wayne Dyer fan. I did not know him personally or anything like that, but I am a fellow Hay House author. He was a Hay House author. Okay.
Right.
So to make a very long story short, I happened to be speaking for an I Can Do It event, which is an event that my publisher puts together. I was going to be speaking about life after death for one of my books called Your Life After Their Death, which you just spoke about a minute ago. And a day before the event, they had a tribute to Dr. Dyer. He had just passed away a month prior to that.
Mm.
So I came a day earlier to attend that event. And when there was a bus for the Hay House authors going from the hotel over to the conference center where the event was going to be held. You follow that so far?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. So I was sitting on the bus. There was one seat available on the whole bus, and it happens to be next to me. So in walks Serena Dyer, who is Wayne Dyer's daughter, and she sits down next to me. And the first thing I say is, Hi, Serena, my name's Karen Noe. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. Have you asked him to give you any signs to let you know that he's with you? If have you dreamt of him or anything like that? And we started to talk. And she said, yes, she received some signs, and her sister Sage had a profound dream in which she hugged her dad in the dream and actually felt his hairy arms. That's what she said.
Oh, how fascinating.
So I said, that truly is a true visitation. I told her who I am, that I am a medium, and I have several books out. And I said, the most important thing that I could do for you is to empower you to do what I do. And I told Serena, look for the signs. Ask him to come to you in a dream and to wake you up after the dream. And just be on the lookout, and he will be doing that for you. That was it on that day. So we went into the conference. It was beautiful. But when the tribute was over, I decided to walk back to the hotel room instead of going back on the bus, because in my mind, I felt like I was not significant enough to be on that bus, because I had my favorite Hay House authors there, as well as Wayne Dyer's family. Okay. So as I started to walk toward the conference center, and as I'm walking, I'm saying to myself, I am so insignificant. I am so insignificant. And that's when he started to come through for the first time. And he said, get out of your own way.
Oh,
Get
I
out
just
of
love
your
some
own
of
way.
the ways he, I remember that from his books.
Mhm. So he was yelling at me, and I said, I've been doing this for years. As I'm booked for 2 years ahead of time with readings, but I never did a reading for Wayne Dyer. I was such a fan of his and all of that. So I said, Wayne, if that's really you, I need a without a doubt sign to let me know it's truly you. So I started to walk. And as Wayne Dyer used to say, ask the universe, how may I serve? So I said to him, how may I serve? And he said, you're already serving. And I said, how may I serve more? So I continued to walk. I went back to the hotel room. And as I got to the hotel room, there was something itchy inside of my shirt. So I reached in to grab it to see what it was. And as I took it out, there was a sticker that had somehow attached itself to the inside of my shirt.
Oh,
When I looked at the
fascinating.
sticker, it said W-E on it. And on the bottom of the sticker in tiny letters said Disney World. And I had not been to Disney World, so I know it couldn't have gotten there from going to Disney World or anything like that. My first response was, that was Wayne, first letter, last letter of his name, because I had just asked him to give me a sign to let me know that it was him talking to me just prior to that. And then I felt him saying, is that good enough? And I said, it sure is. And I thought that it meant Wayne. Little did I know it meant so much more. So you're following me so far?
Absolutely. This is fascinating.
Okay. It gets better. So I went back to New Jersey. This was in Orlando, Florida. And Serena told her sister Sage, who happened to be in Manhattan, I hope you could follow this, which is near me, to contact me because we were talking about signs and dreams. And Sage asked me FaceTime on Facebook, and she told me about her dream. And she said, is this a true visitation? That's what my sister said. I said, absolutely. And we were going back and forth for a while. And finally, I felt him very clearly say, just call her, because this was all via the computer. So I said, Sage, can I contact you? I feel your dad. And she said, absolutely. So I called her, and within a few short seconds, he started to give her personal messages that only she would know. So I said, Sage, I have a center in New Jersey, which is about 40 minutes from where you are. If you wanted to come to visit me, I will move my appointments around so I could see you. Made an appointment for a reading, and she asked her sisters and her mom to come too. And so that's the history. So you ready for what happened after that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sitting on the edge of the chair.
Okay, good. So meanwhile, right after that, that first I said, okay, I made an appointment with Wayne. That's when I said again, Wayne, what did you get me into? I have been doing this a number of years, but I've never done a reading for Wayne Dyer or his family. So you better come through. And I was yelling at him. So I decided to go for a walk with my dog, Duke. And as I'm walking my dog, he started to come through. And he was so excited to talk about the afterlife and so excited to talk about the we consciousness, W-E. That's what was on my sticker.
Oh, okay. Isn't that fascinating how it's the initials of the first and the last part of his first name, and it also is we. Fascinating how I could see how you could make that kind of connection or mistake from the first one.
Exactly. So we made the appointment for about a month and a half after we made the appointment. It was a month and a half later. So I would go for my walks, and every day I went for my walk, Wayne would come through. So I took my cell phone and I started to tape record what he was saying to me. So anyway, so the day came for the reading with the Dyers. And as I was driving to the center for the reading, a car cut me off. And on the license plate, it said Dyer 1.
Oh, that's strange.
So I said, I knew he was going to be coming through that day. So I went to the appointment. Make a very long story short, he came through for each of them very specifically. He told them each very personal messages. He spoke to them each differently. He spoke to Serena a little more forcefully than he did to Sky and his wife, and so forth. And they left knowing without a doubt that it was them. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and they were very personal messages. So I can't share all the messages, but in the We Consciousness in the book, in the back of the book, the Dyers did share the messages that they wished to share with the world. It's in the appendix of the book.
Awesome. Well, tell us, what is the We Consciousness then? I guess from the name I can begin to surmise, but how do you define it?
Okay. So with the We Consciousness, right after the reading, a few months later, Wayne decided to come to me again, just personally, just for me. And he said, now's the time to do what you came on earth to do. I knew immediately what that was for, to promote peace on earth. So I said, okay, am I going to be channeling? You're going to be speaking through me? And he said, no, you've been channeling this all your life, and you have guides with you. They're called the We Guides. I said, what? And they included St. Francis of Assisi and all angels and ascended masters as well. And they were going to give me 33 concepts of the We Consciousness. And I said, what is the We Consciousness? And he said, the We Consciousness is the interconnectivity of everyone and everything, that we truly are all one. And that includes every one of us, and nature, and the animals, and angels, and deceased loved ones, etc. And there's no one more powerful than the other. What one does to oneself or another, it affects the whole. And we are amazing beings and powerful beings. And we have the divine within us. We can all create miracles in our lives. Every one of us, not just the great masters.
Wow, that's a beautiful message, Karen. Now, a lot of my audience is in the thriving recovery stage of autoimmune conditions, and some of them might be going, Karen, that sounds beautiful, but right now, it's not easy, or it's not nice, or it sucks. What kind of messages do you have for people who are like, gosh, I want to believe that, but right now where I am, it's not that easy?
That's a wonderful question. What I would tell people to do is to focus on what they want instead of what is, to plug into solutions instead of the problems. When you turn on the light, the darkness goes away. I know it's easier said than done when you're in the middle of going through a tragedy, or you're angry at somebody, or whatever it is, health issues. But the important thing to do is to understand that we're vibrational beings that attract like unto ourselves. So whatever we're thinking about and feeling is creating more of that into the world and the world around us. So I'll give you an example, because people are saying, okay, that's easy for you to say. When I was going through a divorce several years ago, when I connect with deceased loved ones and the angels, I have to keep my vibration high in order to be more on par with the energy of who they are, if you could follow me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So when I was going through the divorce, it wasn't that easy. I was sad, I was angry, etc. But I had to do what I just said to you a few minutes ago. I had to keep my vibration high in order to do my job. So how did I do it? I did something called tapping. That's the emotional freedom technique. That's something that you tap on acupuncture points that actually releases negative energy that's stored in those points. It looks silly, it looks foolish, but it works. And it's too much to talk about right here and now, but you could Google Nick Ortner tapping, or Gary Craig, the emotional healing technique. I did those types of things. I tapped on my acupuncture points, and I was angry or whatever it was. By the time I stopped doing the tapping, I felt good. If that didn't work, I went on YouTube and I Googled babies laughing, puppies running around, kittens, whatever it was that made me feel good for a few seconds. And within a few minutes, I felt better. So at first, I didn't want to do that, but I was so glad that I did. And that's what I would tell people to do. Fake it until you make it.
It's funny that you bring that up. We've had Valerie Shepard on, who's a laughter yoga instructor.
Oh my gosh.
And she was saying to, even if you don't feel like laughing, fake a laugh. And so we did on that particular show. I forced a laugh, and I'm thinking, this is silly, a forced laugh. It's a forced laugh. Honestly, I was surprised at how quickly it shifted how I felt. It didn't take more than a few seconds of a fake laugh to make me feel comfortable and shifted the whole thing. And you're right, I've enjoyed Nick's videos. He's awesome as far as, and he's a Hay House author as well. But
Yes.
I've enjoyed his videos. And I've done some tapping, guys, that I know, as Karen says, it you may seem a little silly at first, but go through the whole process similar to the laughter, whether it or anything that makes you smile. It works pretty fast, and that's always what amazes me, is how quickly, if you're having a bad day or a bad time, you can pop yourself out of it, even if it's just a short period of time. But what I love about what Karen's saying is these are like non-pharmaceutical, they're easy to do, they can be repeated often. It's not like you can only have one a day.
Mm-hmm. I have another technique that I just thought about. When my clients come to see me, oftentimes they want to speak to their deceased loved ones, of course, but it's the deceased loved ones truly are okay. They're in a state of complete peace. It's the ones who are still here on earth who are not. So we do something called releasing the venom.
Wow, that's
and I
a
think
title.
Since this is audio video, you raise your high hands up and you blow it out. And then your hands are going to be, since you can't see, like to the ground.
Okay,
raise them up.
Raise them up. Do I clench my fists? Okay, and
up here,
clench my fists up there, and pull them down, and open the fingers.
Blow it out
wide.
into the ground. You do it 3 times, and it feels so good. But really mean it, because sometimes people do it too pretty. They just go, nah.
That looks like a dancer.
And really mean it, and it works so well.
A quick little story was similar to that. One time I had been in a particular tough situation, and I always felt sort of, as you said, questioning my self-worth around an individual. And I remember the one and final time I finally said enough is enough. And as I left that exchange, I did what I call a yes moment, where it was a fist pump with just one hand, but, sort of pulling down, yes!
Yeah, that's it.
And even that shifted the moment too, even though it was only with one hand. But that solidified that moment of success in my mind, that I could stand up to people and be in the I am instead of the may I position.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. I love these tips. These are great. Awesome. So those are also, if you're having a bad day, feeling like, a little fatigued or whatever, what surprises me, and just right now, I did both the one Karen suggested and the yes, my fist pump, yes. All of a sudden, I just feel enthused with energy.
You set the intention to feel better. That's the key. We have to want to feel good. Focus on solutions. Focus on the positive. Turn on the light. Force it. And when you did that, you made it happen.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Instead of focusing on what is, you want to focus on what you want instead of what is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, what happens if someone says, when they say focus on what you want, does it has to be really specific? Like, instead of just I want to feel better, does it have to be more specific than that? Like, I want to, I don't know, have the hives go away. Does it have to be really specific, or can it be global?
Either of the above. If you just want to feel better, you could say that. I want to feel better today. If you want a new job, I have the perfect job. Say it present tense, even though it's not a fact yet, because the universe doesn't know whether it's a fact or not. So if you say present tense, no negative words. Don't say, I don't want this. Don't ever say that. I'm telling you, don't ever say it. But when you're trying to manifest, you say, I am in perfect health. I am healthy. I have the perfect relationship, etc.
So
feel the feeling, as Wayne would say, of your wish fulfilled. Yeah. Feel it as if it's happening now.
Wow. Awesome.
It really does work. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's totally different. As you say that, I am in perfect health is totally different than I want to be in perfect health.
Doesn't it feel better too when you're saying, even though many people will say, but I'm not in perfect health. I know that, but you're announcing to the universe that you are, and the universe doesn't know whether it's past, present, or future. I know it's very confusing, but that's exactly what happens. Whatever you're stating, the universe is working in ways to make that happen, whatever you're affirming.
Oh my gosh. Well, we need to take a quick commercial break on that one. That's pretty deep. But when we come back, we're going to talk more about stating intentions and knowing what we're affirming in our life. Or I'm going to even take a little rabbit hole about what we're allowing others to affirm for us. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour, Surviving to Thriving. And tonight we're here with Karen Noe. She's a renowned New Jersey psychic medium. And she's been sharing the we consciousness. A while ago, she started channeling Wayne Dyer, another Hay House author, and always a fan of his. And I'm just amazed at the new profound truths that Karen is sharing that she learned from Wayne, as well as her long list of her own expertise and knowledge. So thank you, Karen, for being here. So far, I've just been thrilled, and the tips that you said have just energized me. It's a little surprising how quickly you're able to shift your energy. And we were talking about setting the intention in the here and now instead of sort of a goal type of mind frame where it's out there. Let's talk a little bit more about how we can continue to do that. And sometimes I'm thinking, if I say I am in perfect health, you had said, yes, that voice might, some little weird voice might go, yeah, really? So do we just keep continuing to state that in the positive until that voice says, okay, I got it?
Absolutely. I would even tell people to do a vision board. What a vision board is, you put on a piece of paper everything that you wish to attain, whether it be perfect job, perfect health, whatever it is, and state it present tense. Put a picture of yourself in the middle of that a vision board, smiling. I have a wonderful story I'd like to share. I won't use anybody's name, but this was one of my clients. She came to me one day and said, I am destined to be alone the rest of my life. I'm never going to meet anybody. I said, that's right. If you say that, that's exactly what's going to happen. And she said, what? I said, you have to stop saying that. I said, do a vision board. And on the vision board, you're going to put everything you want in the relationship. Okay. Now this could be just not only relationships, it could be for money and health, etc. Okay. So she said, okay. So she went home and she did a vision board and she sent a copy of it to me, email. And I looked at it and all she put on the vision board was a very cute guy in the middle of the page, a model. So I got back to her and I said, is this all you want, a very cute guy? I said, that's not enough. She said, I don't care if he looks like that. Oh, I care. I said, okay, but you really should be careful what you're asking for, because that's exactly what you're going to get. A few weeks later, she joined Match.com and she called me up and she said, Karen, this really works. I said, what happened? She said, you're not going to believe this. She said she joined Match.com. And this guy contacted her. They were on the phone. And she asked him what he did for a living. And he said he was a male model. He didn't say male. He said he was a model. And she said, what do you model? It was the very same person.
Oh, my God.
On the vision board. But what do you think I'm going to say?
Not a match.
Wasn't the nice? No. She said after a couple of weeks, she said he wasn't that nice. And I was right, etc. I said, okay, do another one. You know it works. Now on the vision board, you're going to say, loves me unconditionally. I love him unconditionally. And he's available. You don't want a married man, etc. You want somebody that loves you as much as you love him. Anything else, I don't care. And she said, okay. She said, but I'd really like somebody to take care of me, somebody that's well off. Can I do that? I said, you could do whatever you want. Add that to the vision board as long as you wrote the other 3 things. She put it on the vision board. Shortly afterwards, she met this amazing guy who was the CEO of his company, and they have been together for a few years now, and she even came to an appointment with him to meet. So the reason why I'm sharing this is that it really works.
Now, describe a vision board for the people who don't know. I've developed them, and I take like pictures I find, whether off the internet, print them out, or in magazines, or what have you, or take the photo myself. And it's like, wow, that's, I like what I'm seeing over there, and put them out on a board. Actually, glue them down and make a collage. Is that what we're talking about?
Exactly. And put it in a place where you're able to see it often. It's not that you're going to look at it often, but your subconscious is going to be picking up on whatever you put on that. So I've done vision boards in the past, and it's amazing how that manifests. Everything that you put on the vision board, present tense. So if you want perfect health, say, I am healthy. And put a picture of yourself when you were healthy on that board. I had another woman, this is a good one. She came to a class, we were talking about manifesting whatever we want in life. And she was thin, but she said she used to be obese. I said, well, how did you do that? How did you get thin? And she said what she did was she took her head and she put it on somebody else's body and put it on her screensaver.
Oh, interesting.
Every time she looked at the computer, she felt that was her.
Wow, fascinating.
Doesn't sound crazy, but it really does work. Your subconscious picks up on that. So
it's funny that you say keep it in front of you. Wonderful story of a friend who had a house that she wanted. She'd seen it in a magazine. She didn't even know where the house was really located. She just I like that house. So she put it up on her vision board, and she was moving a couple of times, so she put that vision board away. And then all of a sudden, she moves into a much larger house, and she starts unpacking all these boxes that have been packed up for a number of years. She pulls out the vision board, she sees the house, and unbeknownst to her, she's living in that house. It was so shocking to me that it was like, really? She says, I don't know if it's the exact same house, but you go outside and you go in, it looks like the exact same house.
Truly amazing. And I've heard stories like that time and time again, and I have done it. I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't know this to be a fact. And why does it work? The reason why it works is we're vibrational beings. And whatever we're thinking and feeling, we attract that in our lives. So if we're feeling we are healthy, we're going to attract health in our lives.
Yeah. It was interesting to me, not about a vision board, but I remember when I got the diagnosis. And at that time, anyone who's ever gotten a life-changing diagnosis, by that I mean, instead of it's just a cold, you'll be fine in 10 days. Sometimes the person pronouncing this diagnosis can be very dismal, very dire.
They have to watch what they're saying.
Yeah, they can kind of scare you.
Yes.
And I remember when they told me what it was, and that I agreed. It wasn't cool. It was not a good thing to hear. However, when they were saying, now this is how it's going to be, I said, no. I don't tell me any of that. I don't want, that's not important to me, because that's not how it's going to be. I'm going to change this. But what was fascinating in that discussion was when they were saying things like, Sharon, get real. And I'm like, I am real. I just am refusing ownership that this is not what my life is going to be. I said, I am here now, but in this conversation, but I'm not taking ownership of this. And it was interesting. A number of them had a hard time understanding the concept of be careful what labels you accept from other people.
Exactly. They really have to be careful. So are you well now?
Absolutely. Well, I call myself, our community is community of thrivers. And absolutely, that's a fascinating thing to me is, I was telling the doctor when this first, trying to help him understand that I was real, I was hearing him, I was present, I understood the consequences of what he was saying. However, I said, look, you're saying I have dermatomyositis. Look, I can have cockroaches, but that doesn't mean I want them, and that means I'm going to do everything in my power to eradicate that from my life.
Beautiful.
And that's how I'm looking at this have label. So understand that I am understanding what you're saying, so you're not having to worry about me not getting what you said, but I'm not taking ownership of what you said.
I love that you did that. Not many people do. Not many people speak up.
Well, that comes from my background, my other life where I do communications and body language training. So, but that's the reason, Karen, I started the Autoimmune Hour, was because I said to myself, after feeling really crummy, obviously you're at the height of what's happening to your body is, like feeling really crummy. I was like, wow, with all my training, if I am having this much difficulty getting people to listen to me, getting people to talk to me in a positive, forward momentum way, I can't imagine what someone without my training is going through, what they must be picking up the vibrations and the energy they must be picking up that is hindering their thriving, hindering them to getting back to optimal. It's fascinating to me.
It is. And I've had a number of clients. There was one had stage 4 lung cancer, completely cured. Another one had stage 3 multiple myeloma, cured. And all the doctors, they come as a last resort to me, and I don't cure them. I tell them, I give them the tools. I can't go into their minds. I said, you have to stop thinking that you don't own this. And I gave them affirmations and all sorts of things, and they did it. So it really does work. We have the power. We have God within us. And the only difference between the miracle workers and those who are not are the miracle workers know it. So
now, describe the process of knowing it. I mean, for me, I know it was a process. It may not be that way for everyone, but it was a series of signs. It was a series of things that at first you're like, that's interesting. And your conscious mind sort of talks you out of it. Oh, that's a coincidence. Or so tell us, how was the process of knowing happen?
The one woman who I was telling you about, she's my favorite story. She had the multiple myeloma. She was going through a very bad divorce right before getting the C word. I don't even like to use the word. So I know in all the years that I've been doing this, and I just don't do readings. I do mind, body, spirit. And I always do the alternative healing with the messages. I do Reiki, and I do, all of this. But I knew it, since she's mind, body, spirit, and she was holding on to this anger, she had to let go of that anger first in order for her body to heal best, right? So we were working through that with tapping and releasing the venom and all sorts of things. And finally, she was able to let it go for the most part. So after that, she had affirmations. She put them on her everywhere she was, in the bathroom. And she had a wonderful affirmation. It was a long one. I am whole, pure, whatever it was. It was a long affirmation. And she said at one point when she was really ill, the nurse was laughing at her. She was with a walker looking at this and saying it out loud. I am whole, perfect, healthy, whatever it was. After a few months, she started to walk without the walker. And then her hands started to open up. They were closed, and she opened them up. And the doctors, now they say, oh, maybe you didn't have it to begin with.
Yes, well, at that point, I don't really care what they say. You can
That's right.
think whatever you want.
It's what you say. You have to reclaim your power. Exactly.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, believe whatever you want. I'm going to believe what I want here. Let's get into this concept, because I know in the book you talk a lot about self-love, and we've sort of skirted around self-love because you mentioned that walk back to the hotel. There was some moments of doubt there, and I find that a lot in healing from autoimmune. The people I've talked to who are in the thriving section of their optimal health will look back and say, yeah, there were moments, and I really did learn to love myself. I really did learn to have some worth, some worthiness. And so let's talk at the value of what self-love has to do with all of this.
Self-love has everything to do with it. We're just as important as everyone else. If we give to everyone else, we don't have anything left.
So sometimes I've talked to people when they say, Sharon, I want to love myself, but the conscious mind, they probably don't use the word conscious, but my mind just won't let me. It keeps reminding me of, and they'll go through a whole long list, and some of it won't even be their voice. Some of it will be someone else planted that seed in there.
That's where the tapping comes in.
Okay, that's where the tapping
releasing the venom and say, I am significant. I had to do that. I am significant. I am significant. I am significant. I am significant, and mean it. And after a few rounds of the tapping, you feel significant. It really does work.
We've got a few minutes before we're going to go on a quick commercial breaks, guys, but I'm going to have Karen just describe auditorily what she was just doing on the video, where she was tapping. And then you can do that during the quick commercial break, and we'll come back. So, Karen, you started tapping on the sinuses above the eyes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I am significant. Tap on the sinuses above the eyes, and then you're tapping on.
Now, before I show you the points, it's a little bit different than Nick Ortner's taps on, because the way I am tapping, a book fell off my shelf when I was asking the angels what I should do for a client who was coming in to see me who had post-traumatic stress. So I'm sitting there and I said, angels, what should I do for him? The book fell off my shelf, and it was a Gary Craig book that said EFT. So the points are a little bit different than Nick Ortner's. And
Okay.
people say, why do you use these points? Because Nick Ortner's book did not fall off my shelf.
Okay, good reason. Good reason. So we're tapping above our sinuses. How many times do we tap?
8. About
Okay.
8 times.
Okay.
And then around the other side of the eyebrow.
Yeah. The outside of your eyes.
Here.
And underneath your eyes.
Now, as you're tapping,
And
you're
now she's
saying
tapping
whatever
right
it
above
is you want to
lip.
get rid of.
Right.
I am
And then she tapped
angry.
her chin.
Acknowledge whatever it is, because you have to talk whatever you're thinking. In other words, at first you're going to say, I feel insignificant. I feel so you're getting rid of it. You're not holding on to it.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Now see, that
I
feels
feel insignificant. I feel insignificant. I feel insignificant. And you keep saying it. What happens is we have acupuncture points that store the energy of the insignificance or the anger or the fear, and it's held in different acupuncture points. If you tap on those points as you're experiencing the emotion, you can move the energy and feel so much better. That's why it works. But if you tap and you're not experiencing the emotion as you're tapping, it doesn't work. So if somebody's in my office and they're saying, I am so upset, I cannot take it anymore, and you know they're not feeling any emotion, I'll say, I'm sorry, you're not feeling it. Really feel it. And that's when you move the energy. And it looks silly. I'm aware of it. But it works.
You're waking up those points, I see. And then, so as we go to this quick commercial break, we do it in the negative, and then we do it in the positive,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So you guys, during this quick commercial break, do the tapping and do it in the negative, and then do it, be sure, and do it, finish in the positive, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour, Surviving to Thriving. And oh my gosh, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling better just tapping away here and having a whole different change. First commercial break changed my energy, and now, I don't know, I feel lighter, as I find that fascinating. And here I am also partially thinking about getting ready to welcome you back from the commercial break, yet it still worked. Fascinating, fascinating, Karen. So let's jump into that. I love that, but let's jump into, because we only have about 12 minutes left. I want to know more about the we consciousness, and this is the book that Wayne Dyer helped you write through his guidance, and the 33 profound truths. I know we don't have time for the 33, but what are some of your favorite ones?
Well, number 10 is it is imperative to focus on what is right in the world instead of what is wrong. That's exactly.
Oh boy, that's a big one for today, isn't it?
Exactly. So that means if you're posting on social media, to focus on the blessings and the many things that are going on that are good in the world. And there are a lot of things that are going on in the world that are wonderful. So to do that, to focus, the more you emphasize what is right, the more that will grow. Really true. Let me go back a little bit. When I was given the 33 concepts, what happened was Wayne Dyer joined a group consciousness called the We Guides. He was a part of them. So when he was part of that group, it was hard to differentiate him from everyone else. Okay, when he does come through singularly for his family with messages just for them. But when he comes through with the We Guides, it's hard to differentiate him from everyone else, if that makes sense.
Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. Well, I love that number 10, focus on the positive at what's happening today. What are a couple of others?
Okay. Number 18, forgive and ask forgiveness. When you forgive others, you forgive yourself. It's the same thing. Wayne Dyer used to talk about this. It's not the snake bite that kills us. It's the venom that's left behind. Isn't it true?
Oh,
when
it's really
hold on to anger, it hurts us. So I don't know about you, but I want to feel better.
And what's fascinating about that is I have found times when you have a hurt or something like that, and you maybe talk to that person, finally get up the courage to talk to that person about it, and anything from them not even knowing that they had slipped up, like that winged that hurt you, or to the point of sometimes them just being in complete surprise, or them not even remembering the incident, let alone the whole how long that you'd been holding on to it. Which
Exactly.
sometimes I bump into people that have been holding on to these things for decades.
Right. So you know what we need to do after, first of all, after we pass as a medium, this is what I've learned throughout the many years of doing readings. After we pass, we go through a life review where we're able to see and feel how we have affected each person. We could feel that as if we are the other person, because guess what? We are all one. And we feel that oneness when we are on the other side, because we don't have the body that differentiates us from everyone else. But I tell people, don't wait until it's too late to try to see through each person's eyes. Try to see through their eyes now. And in so doing, you'll create peace in your life and in the lives around you as well. Try to see where they're coming from. Why do they do what they're doing? When you're able to do that, you'll feel so much better, and you'll understand them a little bit better as well. It really, for example, if you go to the supermarket and the cashier is very slow and people are getting angry, he's so slow, maybe it's his first day. Maybe he had a hard day, try to see through his eyes and have more compassion.
You know what I like, and one of the things I teach in the group dynamics and the conflict work I do is about coming up with several reasons why someone might be doing something, because oftentimes the first one you come up with is something about you. I don't know, but it's usually something about you. And then, they're just doing it to irritate me or something. But coming up with several, pretty soon, compassion just comes up, even if you don't know the real reason. It's like, oh, maybe their child was sick all night and they were up all night,
Exactly.
Or maybe
and you
they
happen to be there.
Yeah, you happen to be there at that moment that this happened or whatever. So I always suggest coming up with a whole handful of why, because it will shift your perspective and allow you to get out of that first thought, which is most often about you.
Right. And try to see through their eyes. Well, I had one of my books, it was called Through the Eyes of Another, and it was pretty much about this concept that we're talking about. And there was a woman, Donna, who shared her story that she'd been in therapy for so many years and nothing worked because her mother physically and mentally abused her. And we had an experiment at my center, and we wrote letters to our loved ones, and we're trying to see through their eyes why they did what they did. And her mother has since passed, but she wrote a letter to her mother, and she tried to see through her eyes why she did what she did. And she saw that her mom had a very difficult childhood, and she was the oldest of 8 children, and she was, in charge of everyone. She just had she was angry about that. So I'm not saying what she did to her daughter was right. No, it was wrong. But Donna was able to see through her eyes and understand it better. And she said it helped her so much more than all the years of therapy that she had been going through.
Fascinating. Yeah. I've gone through something called family constellation, which was fascinating that way too, where people were able to see the dynamics of the entire group. And that tended to change their viewpoint too, like, oh, well, I didn't realize this dynamic over here. And and to see how not just the one, like in this case, Donna's mother, but the entire group, maybe the pressures Donna's mother had from other extenuating circumstances, which is always fascinating to me when I watch family constellation work.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. But, most people still say, oh, but what she did was wrong. And I agree. It was
that's
wrong.
we're not talking about that. We're talking about understanding.
Right.
We're just down to the last 3 minutes, Karen. This has been awesome, very interesting and fascinating. Can you share with us more about the book, The We Consciousness, the 33 Profound Truths for Inner and Outer Peace, as well as more about how people can get a hold of you?
Sure. So I would tell people to really understand that we truly are all one. It's not you and me. After we leave the physical body, we truly understand that connection. We are all one. Whatever one does to oneself or another, it affects the whole. We are divine beings that could create miracles in our life. We just have to understand that we have that power within us. We have to do the exercises that help us to get to the point that we can vibrate at a higher level so that we could truly understand that. So if you're angry or upset or you're sick, whatever, you do the tapping. You release the venom. You do whatever it takes to feel better. You go on YouTube and Google whatever makes you feel good. And then you'll be more on par with the vibration of the God within you. And that's when you really make a difference in your life and create peace in your life as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, where can we find your books?
You can find my books in any major bookstore. You could go to my website at KarenNoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. It's just been an honor, and I'm so thrilled that Jackie introduced us. I always find some of the best guests this way is when mutual friends go, you need to talk to so-and-so. So if you have a friend out there like that and you're saying, Sharon, you need to talk to him, go over to understandingautoimmune.com, look in the upper right corner for contact us, and just drop me a quick note. I'd love to know more. And Karen's transcript will be up at understandingautoimmune.com as well as the replay of this episode. And thank you, everyone, for joining me. Join me next Friday for a brand new episode. And as always, have a great weekend, whatever your adventures. Enjoy.